What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? And I'm going to take a break here from 2K, and I thought I would do an all-star voting, me selecting my Eastern Conference and Western Conference all-star starters for today's video. So I'm pretty much just on the NBA.com all-star voting selection. I'm going to be picking my starters at this current moment. I'm recording this on February 5th. You might see this a couple days later. And I will be just doing my starters, but before they fully announce the full all-star teams, I will be making a video on who I think should be making each all-star teams from the East and the West. I actually just made a video like that on my second channel in like a tier list format, who I think are the all-stars, but when the all-star voting ends, then I'll be making a final formal video on the channel who I think the Eastern Conference Eastern Conference all-stars are and the Western Conference all-stars are. So this is going to be tough because I just got to pick the starters. Now, some of them will be easy, but some of them are going to be pretty hard. If you guys enjoy these style videos, feel free to drop a thumbs up on it. I would really appreciate it. So we could start with our Eastern Conference guards. This one is tough because there is a plethora of players that could get the starting position here. You have James Harden. You have Jaylen Brown. You have Trae Young. Zach LaVine maybe. Kyrie Irving and Bradley Beal. These six are really tough. And this is just who I think deserves it, not will get it, because the All-Star game is more on like the more exciting players, and even if your team is well below 500, like a Bradley Beal, for example, you're going to get in, maybe even as a starter, for dropping 35 points a night, because that's what the All-Star game is about. If you're trying to go into team success into it, that's mainly what the All-NBA teams are about. So I think I just cannot put Bradley Beal in the starters. I have changed my mind on this. I tweeted out my starters a little bit ago, about a week and a half ago, and I ended up not putting Bradley Beal in it. I thought maybe just because they were the worst team in the NBA, we're going to drop them back, but then I realized, Trae Young was an all-star starter last year, and it's not really to complain if he gets it. He's going to be a reserve anyway if he's a starter. I mean, he's averaging an NBA high right now, 34.8 points per night, even though they're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So that is my other guard. So this gets tough because I think it could be Trae Young. I think it could be Jaylen Brown. I wouldn't put Zach LaVine as a starter, but then I'm also looking at potentially these Brooklyn Net players and then maybe RJ Barrett, and I was also thinking Norman Powell. I'm just kidding about the last two. But yeah, it really comes down to these four: Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Jaylen Brown. And I think when you decide who makes the All-Star game, not even just starters, just the teams, they should have at least played 75% of the games that team has played leading up to the All-Star break. That's why like Kyrie Irving didn't make it last year, or Paul George into the All-Star game. So you kind of have to look at it this year. It's really not too much of an effect on Harden, Trae, or Jaylen, but Kyrie's missed some games, but it's looking like he will play about 75% of their games. I personally, like deep down, I think it should be Trae Young. I was on Jaylen Brown, but I don't think he will end up getting it, even though he's definitely an all-star this year, and I would maybe go Trae or Harden above him. The reason I like Trae a lot is because the Hawks roster is good, and there is not a lot of teams above 500 in the Eastern Conference this year, because the Hawks, okay, now they have fallen below 500. So they're 10 and 12, and you can see that there's only 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that are above 500. And I know I'm not going to take team record into that. It's really tough because I think all 4 of these players that I mentioned, Harden, Brown, Irving, and Trae Young, have great resumes to be an all-star starter. And I think Zach LaVine even has a little bit of say into that, but I don't know if he will. I wouldn't make him a starter. I would definitely consider him to making the reserves, the bench part of it, but not a starter. This is tough. I think just because of maybe what Harden does outside of scoring, I might go Harden over Kyrie. So I'm eliminating Kyrie, and I'm eliminating Jaylen Brown. So really it comes down to James Harden and Trae Young, and I'm going to give Trae Young some love. Yeah, I'm gonna give the better edge to Trae. So I would have Harden in the all. Okay, so out of these guards, it would be tough because I would have Kyrie in, I would have Harden in, I would have Jaylen Brown in. So that gives me about 5 guards, and then if you want to get another one in there, you would have to probably pick between Malcolm Brogdon or Colin Sexton. I don't think anybody after those two here deserve it. Even Ben Simmons, I don't think he is an all-star this year. I think if you're going to give a second Philadelphia 76er, it should be Tobias Harris over Ben Simmons. So Sexton or Malcolm Brogdon, one of those guys will unfortunately be the odd man out. It might be Malcolm Brogdon because people might want to give Colin Sexton his first all-star game, but Malcolm Brogdon has never made an all-star game. So that one will be tough, but I think these 5 deserve it, and then or Zach LaVine. So that's 6. That's 6 players right there. So maybe Sexton and Brogdon won't get in, which is going to be kind of crazy. So yeah, this is my backcourt. If you want to put in Kyrie Irving, James Harden, even Jaylen Brown, and hey, if you want to throw in Zach LaVine, that is fine by me. This is just all a subjective preference. The forwards are a little bit easier. I already have mine planned out, or it's pretty much the front court guys. So it's actually the first three you see. Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those ones were fairly easy. Kevin Durant is up there in the MVP race. You could say he's number 2, 1, 3 right now. Joel Embiid, I think, is personally number 1 in the MVP voting. If you take a look at the standings, they are the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. Like, I think what Giannis is putting up, he's an all-star starter, no doubt about it. Even though he might not win MVP this year, he's definitely an all-star starter. And Kevin Durant, what he's been doing has just been phenomenal coming off the Achilles injury. And like I said, Embiid, best player on the best team in the NBA this year. Still record-wise, they were 16-7. Just kidding. They are not the best team record-wise. Wow. In the Eastern Conference, I guess is what I meant in my head. They are the 4th team overall. They had a really bad loss to the Blazers the other night with no Lillard, no McCollum, no Nurkic, no Derrick Jones Jr., and they were at home. Yes, there was no Ben Simmons, but still. And they lost by like 15 points. So these 3 are the guys that I think should make it, and other guys that I think will probably get voted in. So I already said about 6 guards, with Sexton and Brogdon both being odd men out. So I would have Tatum in. That would put you at 10 players, and you have 2 more. I would give Gordon Hayward 1. I think he should make the All-Star game. So then you're really picking Bam, Tobias Harris, Middleton, Sabonis, Grant, Vucevic. I don't want to have to make that decision. I will fully give my All-Stars when the voting is fully ended. Like, I don't think Jimmy Butler is an All-Star this year. I don't think Pascal Siakam is an All-Star this year. So we'll see what happens. There is going to be some snubs. Because I believe Jimmy Butler was like 5th in the front court voting. The Miami Heat and he's not played a lot this year. The Heat are 7-14, and I don't think his numbers have been that good enough to warrant him an all-star spot, but I'm not going to make that video yet. So I'm going to go with KD, Embiid, and Giannis. Definitely thought about Tatum as well. He did miss some games because of COVID, but he should play enough by the time the all-star game comes around. Like Jeremy Grant, would be cool to see him make the all-star game for what he's doing in Detroit. Like if you're going to say, oh, Detroit's really bad, hey, the Bradley Beal's going to make it. So, and the Pistons have been better than the Wizards this year, correct? They're actually falling off a little bit. They're 5-16 now. Jeez. Yeesh. All right. So, and then I would maybe consider Julius Randle. Yeah, consider Randle. I would consider Vucevic, consider Bam, Tobias, and Sabonis and Middleton. So I would literally consider all 9 of these players right here to be front court guys. The 3 guys I did not vote into the starters. I don't think anybody down here should make it, but that is my preference. So we have the Eastern Conference done. On to the West. I'm going to start with the forwards, because it's a little bit easier, the front court. So there's some easy picks, and there is some questionable picks, but I think for the front court, like the Eastern Conference, it's fairly easy for the Western Conference. You have arguably somebody that's also in the MVP race right now, Nikola Jokic, being one of the best passers in the league this year, one of the best scorers. I think he is in. Kawhi's had quietly an MVP type season. I know when I posted a poll in my community tab a little bit ago, about a week ago, on who's the MVP so far, I wasn't shocked to see Embiid get a lot of votes, Durant and Jokic, but I was surprised to see LeBron get 32%, and Kawhi only get 2%. A lot of people are like, oh, you should have had Curry in there. I don't know. The Clippers are 17-6, and Kawhi is the best player on that team this year, with Paul George also playing phenomenal, but I think Kawhi is an all-star starter. I don't think him and Paul George will both be starters, but I think it will be Kawhi over Paul George, and then LeBron as well. That one was fairly easy. He's on the tied for the second best team in the Western Conference, and it's LeBron James. Enough said. Other guys you can consider: Paul George. Zion has been really good this year. Towns missed some games to COVID. Christian Wood, it's going to be a little bit disappointing. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. He is playing like an all-star, but he just got injured the other night, and he will be out for at least a couple weeks, and that might make him not be an all-star. So I would consider George, Zion, or Ingram, maybe both. And then AD, you could say he could be an all-star this year for what he's doing on the defensive end. Like Mikal Bridges has been really good, but I don't know about all-star good. So Gobert, also best team in the Western Conference. Still going to be up there in the Defensive Player of the Year candidacy. So we'll see what happens with those guys. But those are my 3 front court members in the Western Conference. Like I said, fairly easy. Now going over to the guards, like the Eastern Conference, this is going to be very tough. So I think Steph Curry needs to be in. I think Steph Curry is having a phenomenal season, a bounce back here, even though he really only played like 5 or so games last year. But it's nice to see the Steph of old. So this is where it gets really tough. It comes down between either Damian Lillard or Luka Doncic. In my tweet where I tweeted out my all-star starters, I gave the edge to team success, because if it's like either or, I'm going to give the edge if you're just helping your team win games. And they're both incredibly exciting players, with Luka's ball handling and crafty playstyle, with Damian Lillard's deep range shooting. If you look at the conference standings here, the Portland Trailblazers are 12-9, and the Dallas Mavericks have been very disappointing this year, not because of Luka, but they are 9-14. So it's really can go either or. CJ McCollum's had a great season so far, but he got hurt. I don't know if that's going to make him not even make the All-Star game. That will be interesting storyline to look out for. So it really comes down to Dame or Luka, and like I said, you could go either one. Like, I'm a Luka guy. I love Luka Doncic. He's probably my favorite player in the NBA to watch, but I think I'm going to go with and give it to Damian Lillard as the second guard spot. You could even consider Donovan Mitchell for being the best player on the best team in the NBA right now. He also can get some consideration. And then I'm going to vote Damian Lillard, but like I said, if you vote Luka, I can perfectly see why you did that. I think CJ was playing like an all-star. We'll see if the injury affects that him making it. Shea and De'Aaron Fox, both to have some say in making the all-star reserves. Devin Booker, but he hasn't been like the Devin Booker we've seen in the past. Malik Beasley's been phenomenal. DeMar DeRozan's been pretty consistent. Ja Morant, Victor Oladipo. There's a bunch of guys. I actually didn't know Eric Gordon was averaging 18 points this year. Shout out to him. Like, Chris Paul has made the Suns better. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of guys that can get it. And there's only, 12 spots. So there will be some snubs. But I'm going to end up going with Damon Curry. And here are my all-star starters at this current moment on February 5th for the 2021 All-Star Game. Apparently, there's going to be an All-Star Game in Atlanta, and I don't think there would really be fans in it. I think it's just really pointless to begin with. Have the All-Stars, announce them, crown them, and just don't have the game. It's super unnecessary. There's just no reason for it without fans, without the kind of spectacle that the All-Star Weekend is, where you got the Skills Challenge, the World vs. USA, you got the dunk contest, the three-point shootout, and everybody's there having fun, a little bit of break from competitive play, but there's going to be no fans. It's not going to be the same. It's really just a money grab for TV deals, basically. I just don't think it should happen, and I agree with LeBron when he said he doesn't really plan on partaking in it, and I kind of agree with this statement. But yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments if you would change anything around. Like I said, for the Western Conference backcourt, I'd be fine with Luka in there as well, and for the Eastern Conference backcourt, I'd be fine with Kyrie, Harden, Jaylen Brown, or even Zach LaVine. I did a reaction to the All-Star voting on my second channel a little bit ago, so if you want to take a look at that, link to that channel is in the description below. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I love y'all. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.